all know a guy who only occasionally shaves for big occasions, and it's because that occasional shave really hurts. It's the time of year for big occasions, and yet there he is, suffering with that cheap drugstore razor. Let's help him out. Henson Shaving's line of razors, built with aerospace precision, deliver a smooth shave your dad, brother, and even son can enjoy, eventually. With replacement blades just 10 cents each, you'll buy it once and they'll use it for life. How's that for the perfect gift? Celebrate with 100 free blades on your first purchase, and no subscription headaches. HensonShaving.com/holiday.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Welcome to the No Fruit Podcast,
where we talk about our life experiences with a spiritual twist. Hosted by Maurice
and Kafa. We hope you enjoy today's episode. Hey, what you got to say?
That's really funny. For some of you, that's the way her uncle used to greet everybody that walked in his house.
That's how he answered the phone. That's what his answering service, like you wouldn't even know if it was him or not, because that's all he says. What do you say there? So, hey, everybody. So glad to have you back for another episode. A few weeks ago, or a few episodes ago.
Maybe one episode ago.
I don't know.
Right.
Some days are just, numbered weirdly to me right now. So,
right.
So a few days ago, a few weeks ago, who knows? It could have been a few months ago.
Right.
Maurice and I were talking with you all here on this podcast, and he had asked a question about a tree that thrives and lives in the valley, lives in a dry place. And he had asked for people to put some comments in and share what they thought this tree was. And interesting enough, there's, some wouldn't think that anything could grow in a dry place, from what you learn in biology and you study plants and things like that, that it needs sun, it needs water, and as the Bible says, it needs to be in good ground in order to grow. So some people were stumped in reference to what actually grows and thrives, if you will, in this barren, dry valley of a place.
Right.
And Maurice, you want to share what this tree is?
So before we get into what the tree is.
Uh-oh. Y'all get ready.
Before we get into the tree, let's understand.
He's preach.
You're funny. But what I would like to say, sometimes when we look at the valley, we view it as a place that is, as you stated, barren. Some place where it's like, there is no hope, no water for anything to grow.
Right.
And sometimes, right, especially for right now, what we're going through, just with all the ills of the world, because it's way too many to just say one or two things right now. But we're dealing with a lot of, disease and sickness, and just what appears to be a harvest time, where God is pulling people out of this physical world. And so, unfortunately, we feel like we're in this crazy ravine, in this crazy pit, where what is it that's going to help give me hope? make me dream and all that type of stuff. And sometimes those, those hills, those mountains, whatever it might be,
right,
they look like they're a little too steep to climb.
right.
For those of you who know the hymn and all that type of stuff, right? So,
Well, I mean, and we've been talking a little bit about this for the last few podcasts when we talked
Right.
about emptiness and we talked about fasting and
Right.
prayer. All of those things kind of lead you into some mindset of being empty.
right,
We talked about, you too full of yourself, that there is a blessing in being empty. We talked another time about fasting. And when you fast, at times you present yourself empty before
Right.
God,
right,
so that God can bless you. So,
right,
so in this place of this lowness, because that's what valleys are. Like you said, you look up to the mountaintops, you look at the peak, you see the sunshine that hits it,
right,
you see the beauty of it,
right,
but you're here in this valley,
right,
and what happens and what grows in the valley. I mean, there's so many biblical references, and like you said, so many gospel song references about the valley.
right. See, sometimes I think, when we look at that, like we have so many songs that talks about, look to the hills from which cometh my help. I need to look up and, all those type of things, but this one thing that I was talking about that grows in the valley, it represents something totally, it represents something that, you don't always have to look up, because sometimes when you're in the valley, sometimes you're looking down. Sometimes when you're feeling down and depressed and you feel like there's nowhere else to go, sometimes it's hard for you to lift your head up, right? So in this particular instance, what I'm referencing is what's called a myrtle tree.
Myrtle tree.
Yes.
Okay.
And it was something that was presented in Zechariah's vision. One of his, I believe it was 8 visions that the Lord had given to him. And it represents God's promise that the returned exiles would be prosperous, or experience prosperity. So that's one of the things that while you're in the valley, God is still going to show you, even with your head down or just straight, it's going to still show you that his promise is still right there in front of your face.
Right. You don't have to look up and look beyond and hope for something to change.
Right.
That there is a blessing right there.
Right.
As one of the Psalms said, there's a lily in the valley.
Right.
And it's bright as the morning star. So I think as what you're saying, that even in the valley and in your valley experience, God is still there in your midst.
Right.
And that what I got out of it a little bit was that even in your valley experience, as barren and as dry bones and all those things that we hear about, in that valley, your lowest of your low, your deepest, darkest moment, that something still can grow out of that. That God put you there because something can grow out of it.
Right.
And someone I was listening to today stated that the only way you can start a fire is if you take 2 dry things and rub them together, cause some friction, and within that friction, a spark will come.
Right.
And then the wind will blow, and then you'll have fire. So you think about being in this dry place, this valley, this darkness, and with that, some friction happens because you're down there and you're like, Lord, why am I here? Lord, can't there be a better way? And, that causes some friction. It causes some tension because you're wondering, why me? Why am I here? What am I supposed to gain out of all of this?
Right.
Why can't I get to that mountaintop? Why can't I get up that rough side of the mountain? All of those things. And that again, is your friction.
Right.
You know what I mean? But as you're calling on God and asking him for more, that wind will shift. And when that wind begins to blow, that's when that spark happens. And then you'll be restored with that fire. And we know how much power is in fire.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We definitely seen that in California this past couple months, you know. So
you
no,
know,
you're right about that.
There's so much power there, you know. I think one of the guys, Jeremiah, said it's like fire shut up in my bones.
Right.
You know, so there's just so much power there, not only just in the wind, but also in the fire. But I want people to understand that even in your valley, there is power and there is purpose there.
Right.
And as we have continually talked about, like, look in the mirror. What's your purpose? Why are you there? Why are you in the situation that you're in at that particular time?
Right. Right.
What is God doing in your life? And then how do you live that so that it blesses someone else?
Right.
You know, so as you look around and you see that myrtle tree, as you see that lily in the valley, whatever it is, know that you're growing.
Right.
You know, that you, like that myrtle tree, you're growing.
And understand that that represents your promise that, you know, that God has given to you.
Right.
You know, he gave you a promise of he's going to prosper you. Now, granted, you know, just in our minds, because of how we look at things, you know, prosperity sometimes comes in a financial form, you know, but are there other ways that you could be prosperous? You know, are there other ways that he can bless you that's, you know, way more than financial? And I think that's really an individual walk. You know, we can have 1,000 different examples, right? You know, and it may not be applicable to you and your situation. But, you know, so I'm going to give you an example, even for myself. Just this week, you know, I was able to put on an Entrepreneur Impact Summit. I think I had mentioned it in one of the previous episodes, right? And, you know, people are saying, hey, Maurice, you know, are you getting paid from this and all that type of stuff? And no, I'll put it on for free. You know, I want to educate. Our tagline is educate, empower, enable, and impact, right? So the whole point was to educate people so they could feel empowered. And since they feel empowered, now they are enabled to impact the world. So the mindset is, what kind of education can we give them by them viewing this summit? But moving forward, as I was saying about, you know, being prosperous or being blessed in this, you know, I did not expect to get the type of reaction, the type of attendance even from this summit, you know, and God really has taken it to a whole nother level where it's putting my name, my company, my family in the mouths of people that otherwise I would not be in company with if it wasn't for this situation. And part of that is, in all reality, me putting it in God's hands, me fasting, and just leaning on him 1,000% in this situation.
Right.
And I can't tell you how often I wanted to give up. You know, I felt like I was in the valley. I did. You know, there were a lot of times where, you know, in the middle of the night, I'm sitting there struggling with it. Like, yo, should I really do this? What am I doing? Maurice, what? Are you serious about this? And Kafa could tell you, you know, and this is going to have to be a whole nother podcast talking about my, you know, my experience right before the summit, you know, how the Lord moved, you know, 1:00 in the morning. And it all started because I woke up to go to the bathroom and I come back and ask her a question. And from that point on, God moved in our life. And more importantly, he had delivered me from a lot of different things at that moment. Amen. So in that situation, in that moment of feeling vulnerable, feeling like I'm in a valley, feel like I'm stressed out or whatever else, God was able to fulfill his promise to me that, hey, Maurice, you're going to make it through. You know, I'm here with you, you know, every step of the way. So being prosperous again, we look at it from a financial perspective, right? Or his promise to us in that financial, hey, I need a house, hey, I need a car, whatever else. But is it something that you are moving forward with? And is he going to bless that to the point where it's way more than you ever imagined?
And I think, a lot of times people, as you're stating, Maurice, they get that word prosperity a little confused. You prosper so your soul prospers. So you prosper so that you can bless someone else.
Right.
It's not for you to have it and squander it away. It's not for you to have it and be, I can't find the right word for it, but arrogant about it.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can boast of the Lord. That's what the Lord wants people to tell of his goodness, but it's a way to go about it. And,
right.
And you have to keep God first. And I think that is the part that sometimes people get prosperous and they get to a certain level and they forget about God.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why we have those valley experiences, so that you can remember who carries you, who's going to lift you up, who's going to get you back to that mountaintop.
Right.
We all want that mountaintop experience.
Right.
And we all want to be the top of our game. We all want those things, and that's all well and good, but we can't forget who brought us there and how we got there, and to give God the glory and the honor.
Right.
And then continue to help other people while we're up there. We can't just sit up high and not pay attention to who's low.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you do have to look down every now and then to pull somebody else up.
Right.
Because the world looks so much different when you are high. Things change. The air changes. The altitude, causes you. I was looking at a TV show last week, and these folks had went up into the mountains and to do like a week excursion, and the lady didn't know like how much it would impact her, and she just was like, I can't do it, I can't breathe, I'm getting lightheaded. She got sick in the stomach, and her body just couldn't take it. So we have to be careful on how high we climb, because we have to be those the city of Babel, like they was trying to climb high, and God shut it down. And then cast them all apart, if you will. So we really have to be careful on what we're doing and why we're doing certain things, because God will put us right back down in that valley, and say, hey, remember from whence you came. And remember that I am God. So we do have to be careful about that. So, but then when he puts us back down there, it's again, that cycle starts all over again, where there's another time to grow. It's another growth period, just like we say here on this podcast. It's the No Fruit Podcast.
Right.
So we're hoping that what we share will help you to grow.
And I will say that as you are trying to water your plant, your tree, whatever it might be, don't forget that in this walk, we're supposed to bring someone else along with us too at some point in time. So please don't forget someone else to help someone along the way.
Right.
Again, as the song says.
But, we're supposed to be disciples.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be spreading the gospel and being, disciples for Christ. So the only way you can do that is to go get somebody. And I think the hard part for us is, at least for me sometimes, because a lot of my friends are Christians and saved, is to make disciples of unbelievers. That's the harder part.
I think that's a whole nother episode.
Yeah, it is.
And the reason why I'm saying that, because unfortunately, how do you reach other people as you stated, even for yourself personally, where everyone is a believer, where everyone is a follower of Christ.
I think because everyone's in a different situation. Just like you said, just this past week and a half when we were fasting for, 12 days or whatever it was, that took you to a whole nother level. You've been a Christian, you accepted Christ or whatever,
right.
But that certainly put you in a whole nother place. You had a whole nother experience in Christ. You had a whole nother experience in your spiritual walk.
Right.
And it had nothing to do with religion. It had nothing to do with any of those things. It was just your personal relationship, not religion, relationship with God, with Jesus Christ, with yourself. And it was just something to behold. Like you said, that's a whole nother topic and a whole nother conversation.
Right.
But, even like what we talked about last podcast when we talked about fasting, just all of the things that we had gone through midway through our fast.
Right.
But, when you come through, God just blesses you. He just really, really, he shows up.
Right.
So
right.
even in, as you're stating, in this valley, this dark place or this barren place, this dry place, things do grow, and the myrtle tree. Do you have any information on like what the myrtle tree means or references? It just references prosperity.
Yeah, I mean, it references God's promise. And excuse me, let me go back.
I mean, that's deep in itself right there. Like,
no, it does.
In this barren, dark place, in your bottomness, in your valley, in your lowest of low,
right.
God is like, oh, prosperity is right there. What?
Right.
Like, what kind of God is that?
Right.
You know what I mean? You thinking that, hey, I gotta get to this high place, this far place to have, prosperity, to prosper, to have, riches or wealth or whatever it may be. But God says, no, right there in your valley, right there in your low place, right there in this dry place, right there in your nothingness. Look around because
right.
prosperity is right there. Look around. My promise is right there. And there's nothing like that. That's nothing but God right there. Like that's your sermon right there, Reese.
Right.
Go ahead and preach it.
So for those of you who know that I was licensed, you can go back in the archives on my Facebook. I believe when I preached about the myrtle tree, almost 5 years ago now.
I think it was longer than that.
No, it was only about 5 years, a little less than 5 years. Okay, maybe a little longer. But could we? It's been a little longer
than 5 years.
But
Maurice. You're getting older. It's all right.
But I just want y'all to understand that the promise is there. That's the whole point of what we're talking about right now.
Right,
the
right,
promise is there, and no matter where you look, no matter how you feel, whether you're in the valley or even on the mountain, because the myrtle trees do grow up the mountain too.
Yes.
So no matter at what point in time, in your journey, the promise will be there regardless. All you have to do is just look around. Again, you don't always have to look up, straight up. Even if you're down, you're whatever. And let's keep this in mind too. Myrtle trees, they could start off as like small, grubby, bushy type things, and the height, they grow up to be 24 feet tall. So even in that, you can still look up and still see the myrtle tree, still see the promise. So whether you're low or high, you can still see this.
Right.
It's
the promise.
So just be sure that you continue to stay prayed up. I'm gonna tell you, this whole fasting thing and some other little life changes is very interesting. That's all I can say right now. But God gets all the glory though.
Amen.
So we thank y'all. And hey, Kafa, what do we want them to do?
Maurice, we want everyone to stay fit with Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Follow, share, comment, and subscribe to the No Fruit Podcast.
Continue to listen to us on your favorite podcast channels.
And look for new episodes every Thursday.
We thank y'all very much for listening to us.
May God bless you all.
Peace.
We all know a guy who only occasionally shaves for big occasions, and it's because that occasional shave really hurts. It's the time of year for big occasions, and yet there he is, suffering with that cheap drugstore razor. Let's help him out. Henson Shaving's line of razors, built with aerospace precision, deliver a smooth shave your dad, brother, and even son can enjoy, eventually. With replacement blades just 10 cents each, you'll buy it once, and they'll use it for life. How's that for the perfect gift? Celebrate with 100 free blades on your first purchase, and no subscription headaches. HensonShaving.com/holiday.
Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.